Hello everyone, welcome to today's show. And if you joined for the first time, this is part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We pick one vendor or the solution that we review independently, and then we are going to have a bunch of stories from the week that we are going to discuss. For today, we have a very new vendor. In fact, I think they must be brand new in the ERP market. It's called Nextworld, but the product is extremely slick. And they have been getting a lot of buzz in the market. So, we are going to review how they are trying to position themselves, what is going to be their differentiator. Before we do that, we are going to start with everybody's intro. I am going to start with my intro. If you don't know me, I am Sam Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. If you are not familiar with Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation firm. We help our clients with the business process reengineering, business architecture, information architecture, system selection, contract negotiation related to ERP systems, as well as ERP implementations. On that note, I am going to move to Phil for his intro.
Hi, everybody. Phil Kerper with Ringling Business Solutions. We help executive leadership teams align their business plans with digital transformation. I come from a couple decades plus working in mid-markets, in manufacturing, distribution, and retail, helping them with aligning ERPs and other great platforms that we stood up. And I'm really pleased to be here today, Sam. Thanks.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Phil. Dave, can I move to you next for your intro?
Sure. Thanks, Sam. Hey, everybody. My name is Dave Chrysler, and I own an operations consulting business working with leaders in manufacturing, construction, and cannabis to help them create systems to grow their business and align their planning, people, process, and technology. I come to you today with more than 20 years in manufacturing operations and excited to be here. Thanks, Sam.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Dave. Andy, can I move to you next for your intro?
Thank you, Sam. And my name is Andy Pratico. I've been involved in ERP software for manufacturers for a long, long time. I worked all over North America. I've worked with over 1,000 manufacturers, and in fact, I teach people how to evaluate and how to uncover the truth about ERPs before they buy. Hopefully my advice helps a few people make the right decision. But going further on that, these WBS.Rocks sessions are phenomenal for getting free advice on that same topic. Thanks, Sam.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Andy. And now I am going to move to the first story for today. And before I do that, if you're in the audience and joined for the first time, make sure you guys are going to comment and post your questions. Our panelists are going to be looking at all of those questions. We will try our best to get back to you during the panel. If we cannot do that, then our panelists will make sure that you are going to receive the answers or the commentary related to your question. So I would appreciate if you guys can make this session interactive. So now we have the first story, and the first story is coming from our friends at Sage, and this is related to their flagship product. Not flagship, at least in the cloud native world, this is probably going to be flagship. Maybe not in the sort of the cloud legacy world. So here we have the Sage Intacct product, and they have done the 2022 release one. The majority of the cloud native vendors, the way they have their releases, it's going to be twice per year. So typically they are going to be called, in this particular case, it's 2022 R1. I think Acumatica follows the similar naming convention. I believe NetSuite also has similar. So these are going to be two different releases where they are going to be releasing the major chunk of functionality. And this is probably a show for a lot of different vendors. In case of Sage Intacct, it might not be as big a show, but Acumatica definitely likes to make it is a big show. So here, the update that we got, as part of this release is going to be, they are doing a lot more from the financial perspective. As we all know, Sage Intacct is a very financial focused solution. It does not have as much operational functionality for the product centric industries. For example, let's say if you talk about manufacturing, distribution, retail, you are not going to get that thick operational functionality that you might have in case of NetSuite or Acumatica. Sage Intacct is positioned for the service-centric industries. That is going to be your not-for-profit. It's going to be, I think they do a little bit of healthcare. They have all of your tech companies, the SaaS companies, the media. That is their play overall. And right now, the kind of functionality they have released, it is typically found in much larger systems, okay, at least from the financial automation perspective. And it is also found in a lot of P2P systems. So, for example, there are two possibilities for the larger companies if they want to take advantage of this functionality. That is going to be either go for something like S4HANA, or you have the P2P system. So you have to worry about the integration if it is not going to be pre-integrated. And those P2P systems are going to be your Aribas and Coupas of the world, and you are going to find this functionality there. So Sage Intacct is trying to go deeper into that financial functionality. They are trying to build a lot of AI and machine learning workflows as part of your financial functionality. So here they are saying the latest release provides businesses with artificial intelligence and machine learning tools that support finance leaders to make the best use of. Okay, that's just a marketing hype. Here, release 1 enables AI to extract insights and patterns across key financial processes. This support customers to better understand friction points, identify patterns, review anomalies from across their business, all without leaving user or data, leaving Sage Intacct. So typically they would do this in some other system. In this particular case, they are doing right inside Sage Intacct. Now, the theme overall, if you think about it, it might appear as if this is similar to what Salesforce does, to be honest, in the CRM world. Here, in case of your financials, this information is going to be super helpful as well, because if you are getting any sort of anomalies in your GLs, you want to identify all of that. The similar theme that we have for the AP automation, they are doing automated AP processing all within Sage Intacct. They are saying reducing the need for the user or the data to leave Sage Intacct. Great. Enable an automated end-to-end AP workflow from receive, process, pay, and reconciliation without leaving Sage Intacct. Obviously, I get it. But in the other system, the reason why they are trying to emphasize the word without leaving Sage Intacct is because if you actually look at NetSuite or Acumatica, they are going to claim that, you know what, I've got an add-on. Okay, typically those add-ons are going to be outside of the system. That's how they like to position that. Okay, Sage Intacct has that. I have an add-on for that. But here, this is going to be right within Sage Intacct. Obviously, that means a lot because you don't have to sign a separate contract for this functionality. This is going to be right within the system. You don't have to talk to two different vendors. Here they are saying, bill creation, paperless approvals, payment processing, reconciliation. They are also saying bills and payments for multiple business entities can be processed within Sage Intacct. As we know, Sage Intacct is a very globalized and localized solution. If you compare just the financials, okay, it's very, very, very strong. And in some cases, if you only care for financials, it could be comparable to much larger systems such as S4HANA. In a lot of, if you really think about it, I don't know how many countries Sage Intacct is really localized, but let's say if you are present in 5, 6, 8, 10 countries, and you don't have that boundary case for a country, you could probably go for Sage Intacct without worrying about going to much larger system such as S4HANA if your goal is going to be only financials. I'm not talking about the operational ERP functionality. They also have the intelligent digital assistant to scan vendor bills, match them to right vendor, create a draft bill record. QuickBooks was doing a lot of it, to be honest. We didn't realize how much QuickBooks was doing this in the background. And that's why QuickBooks always felt very easy overall. When you are actually going to upload the feed, it's all going to match. It's going to report. Obviously, you don't have as much AI and machine learning built. You don't have as much complexity in case of QuickBooks. But, now you are going to get the the complexity of Sage Intacct, but you are going to get the user experience of QuickBooks in this particular case. In my opinion, I think that's a major addition, the way Sage Intacct is approaching for this functionality. They're also saying AI to identify duplicate and erroneous bills. Typically, you are going to have significant admin efforts involved just to chase all of these bills down and reconcile that and close those transactions. That typically has a lot of admin efforts. Here, they also have the bills that require manual intervention are highlighted to empower users to quickly identify and address exceptions. If you guys have any comment, I can take those or move to the next one.
Just smart move. They stuck to the knitting, and they really, put that internal thing on the AP side, which, like you say, was always an add-on.
Yeah, I completely agree. Any other comments, guys? Okay, so continuing to the same functionality here, this is also the continuation of Sage Intacct, because the release is obviously going to have a lot of bells and whistles that they typically release. This is only a brief of what we have in front of us. But this is, the majority of their focus is really building that core finance functionality. That's what Sage is really, really good at, to be honest. The majority of their solution, if you're purely buying for the finance functionality, Sage is an amazing company. Overall, they might not have as deep operational functionality in their systems, but finance is, it's really good. So here they have some more functionality here. They are saying run daily reconciliation in minutes with automated, bank download between payments and bank statements, all while eliminating manual data reconciliations between systems. Digitally connect to banks. Now, this is typically add-on in other systems. I don't know if Acumatica really owns this code or not, but typically you are going to require an add-on. Just for the connection, we have seen, let's say if you go to SAP and you require the connector, each connector is probably going to cost you $5,000 per month. Sometimes it could get that expensive. So let's say if you have 20 accounts, you are looking at 5,000 times 20, and that could get very expensive. So that's the cost of an add-on typically. And then you are dealing with multiple vendors, even though this add-on, honestly speaking, it's not as critical for your business operations or for the business functionality. So overall, let's say if you can get it cheaper, the cost is not going to increase, then this could be an okay add-on. It's not a big deal. But still, the cost is going to be there. We have seen cost increase with these add-ons substantially, and they use a lot of different crazy schemes. The way they price, the way they are going to structure the contract, sometimes it could be very tricky to work with these add-on companies, because obviously they don't have a million customers. They hardly have, let's say 10, 20, 50 customers, and they have to fund the development, and they have to charge enough to be able to survive. So that's why they have to charge this much. Now, just one note here, they are being very clear, and this is where some vendors are very sharp, the way they like to position. So even though they are positioning this as their offering, but it's very clearly stated that it is powered by corporate spending innovations. Now, corporate spending innovations is going to be some sort of either ISP or a VAR. They have created a strategic alliance. This is a white label offering. It's not really owned by Sage Intacct, but Sage Intacct is trying to claim as if it is their own, but technically it is not. Tomorrow they could lose this relationship, and then if this is going to be critical part of your functionality, then obviously the solution is not going to work. So pay attention to the fine lines of the contract. Here, it is not really owned by Sage Intacct. They have sort of highlighted, but it's not as highlighted the way I would like, especially for the customers who don't know how to read these contracts. It could be very tricky for them to understand. They are saying this strategic partnership, they have clarified that this is a partnership which combines CSI's advanced payments processing technology with market leader Sage Intacct's financial management solution. There's nothing there, so great. Now, last year of outlier detection of general ledger, Sage is the first and only mid-market cloud accounting solution to use AI to increase confidence in the accuracy of general ledger transactions. Auto-generated flags appear for entries that don't match past transaction patterns, enabling errors to be caught before making their way into financial reporting and reaching stakeholders. And this is true as well, to be honest. Okay, so Sage Intacct is right in their claim that they are probably the only one. We have seen this piece of functionality in case of your S4HANA Oracle ERP cloud, but you are not going to find this in any other mid-market solution. So Sage is trying to get that functionality as part of their solution. And this could be significantly handy, especially for companies. Let's say you are an oil and gas business and you have 80 different entities. That's very common because each project that they are going to get is probably going to be an entity. Okay. So when you have these many entities, then you really need to figure out, okay, what is going on? When you have so many different vendors involved, they are sending the invoices. So you really need to find a way of tracking these transactions. So this piece of functionality could be significantly helpful for companies, especially if it is going to come out of the box as part of your license. Okay, so here they are saying include customizable approval routing to send outliers back to the originator to be fixed, which is great. Again, if your financial department is going to be thick, that's when you will be needing this functionality. If you have 2 accountants in your company, probably you don't need that. But if you have 20, 25, 50, then you probably need this. Sage Intacct provides deep capabilities for software and SaaS companies to scale their accounting, subscription billing, and revenue recognition while providing, okay, this is all good. Contract renewal forecasting provides customers with forward-looking visibility and a more complete forecast for recurring revenue. This is pure gold for the SaaS companies. This is the pain point. Forecasting, what is going to be your revenue, what is going to be the predicting the contract renewal. I think that itself is a big deal for a lot of project-centric companies and the SaaS companies. So obviously, Sage Intacct is positioned there. That's why they are not building the manufacturing functionality. They are building something for these software companies. So you need to pay attention to where they are spending their dollars. In this particular case, they are trying to build the functionality for the service companies. Customers can analyze billing, revenues, payments for upcoming contract renewals. Huge piece of functionality for the companies that are going to be in the project space, in the contract space where they are going to have large contracts. Customers can use Sage Intacct Custom Report Writer. Sage does have one of the best, custom report writer. I have seen it. It's just brilliant the way it is. A lot of other vendors are going to claim, it's similar. They have similar report writer, but it's not as user friendly. It's really difficult. Sage has really user-friendly custom report writer. When you have when you are trying to analyze data from multiple entities, it gets really difficult when you have to take a lot of steps in analyzing that. Sage is really designed for that multi-entity functionality, which a lot of other solutions will not be able to do that because they were not designed originally for that piece of functionality. That's why the majority of the accountants, they absolutely love Sage Intacct because they just live in the finance world. For them, it's pure gold. They don't care as much about the operations. That's where Sage Intacct is really going to struggle.
What do you think they would? What kind of systems do you think they would add on to Intacct to handle the operational type functionality, Sam?
So Sage Intacct is not going to have it might have very light inventory. So light inventory, when I say, let's say if you are looking at the software company, okay, a software company is going to have an inventory. So on paper, Sage Intacct is going to say inventory management. But so that inventory that software company is going to carry is not going to be same as your retail company or distribution company or the manufacturing company. For them, it's bread and butter. So the distribution, the core, when we go into the depth of distribution or depth of manufacturing, that's where we see a lot of functionality, the way your manufacturing operations are run. So Sage Intacct is not going to have all of that. They don't win there.
Are there any systems that claim to interface to Intacct though at all, or?
Yeah, so typically there are MRP systems. Okay, so MRP, as we know, is an old term. So you are going to have Katana MRP. You are going to have Fulcrum. Fulcrum tries to claim that they are an ERP system. They tend to sit on top of Sage Intacct. But the only reason why they are able to sell in this space for manufacturing is because Sage Intacct natively does not have that functionality. So they are trying to club with Sage Intacct because this is a marriage made in heaven, if you really think about it. Because Fulcrum is really strong in the manufacturing and Sage Intacct is really strong in accounting. But Fulcrum is really an add-on. It's not really an ERP system natively. So obviously they are going to be integrating a lot before this can be usable. So that's going to be a very thick integration overall. Okay, any other comments, guys? I don't know. Did I answer your question, Andy?
Yeah. I'm sure there's a few other systems out there. You mentioned one of them that's probably fairly popular, but I was just curious if it's such a strong product for financials. I'll bet a lot of companies will buy it originally because the accounting people love it. But then I wonder when they hit the wall, when they need more functionality and what they do to add into it, to make sure it's going to meet all the needs of manufacturing, wholesale, etc.
So they were doing really well with systems such as Brightpearl, and the reason why they have acquired Brightpearl is just because of that reason. Because Brightpearl was really strong cloud native product for the omni-channel business. So now they have acquired this. That's supposed to be more of your POS system, to be honest. It's not really an ERP system. So Brightpearl used to, and companies have had significant problems when they utilize, let's say, Sage Intacct with Brightpearl, because Brightpearl did not have the deep, the inventory functionality that you would find in an ERP system when you are trying to combine your finance with ERP, with your operations, the way you are going to run your MRP, the way you are going to design your bombs. All of that is not going to exist in Brightpearl. But somehow the customer could survive because they loved Brightpearl. Accounting loved Sage Intacct, but there was no sort of real communication the way you would have in case of a real ERP if everybody is sort of using the same system. For example, if anybody is using NetSuite or Acumatica, for those industries, these companies are going to have far richer experience than utilizing Sage Intacct with Brightpearl. But Sage Intacct will do well. For example, let's say if you are going for oil and gas, you are going for construction, you are going for not-for-profit, you are going for software development, you are going for marketing firms. That's where Sage Intacct is really, really, really strong. Okay, if you guys don't have any other comments, okay. To the next one. So here, this is actually coming from Workday. I know we have reviewed Workday. We have some changes here. So they have just released their results. Here they are saying fiscal fourth quarter total revenue of $1.38 billion, up 21.6% year over year. And they have been growing their revenue. Their cash is still tight. That's what we saw in case of their financial statement, that they were losing money. Subscription revenue is up, which is roughly 22% year over year. By the way, if we look at the fourth quarter revenue, 1.38 billion takes them to roughly what, Phil, to roughly $6-ish billion in the overall revenue. I think that's where they are right now, 6 to 7-ish. Yep. For a HCM company, I think that's a very strong revenue.
I thought they were chasing 6 when we looked at them. They were at 5 to 6 when we looked at them.
Yeah.
Look at again, and we saw this last time, Sam. The majority is that subscription revenue.
Exactly. And Salesforce was at roughly 25-ish, right? So they are 1/4 of Salesforce right now overall in terms of revenue, if I'm right. Yeah. Okay, so here they are saying, obviously, Workday is the same story as we have seen in case of SAP. They have significant backlog, not only for 24 months. So basically, the majority of the Workday installations that we are going to have, it's going to be similar to SAP, where they are going to be doing the upgrade for the multi-year. Even though Workday started it as the cloud native solution, that's how Workday was started. But I'm pretty sure they are doing some sort of upgrade. That's why we have the revenue backlog. So here they are saying 24-month subscription revenue backlog of 7.98 billion, or maybe it is the backlog because they have the 3-year contract, but they cannot really recognize that revenue. The contract is already signed. That could be the reason why they have this. The total subscription revenue is higher than 24 months. So obviously their contracts are going to be far longer than 24 months. And the upgrade is also going to be far longer than 24 months. That's why the total is higher than your 24 month. Then fiscal year 2022 total revenue 5.14 billion, which is exactly what we were guessing, Phil, that they'll be around 6-ish. So that's what we are seeing here. Subscription revenue of 4.55 billion. Again, they don't really have a lot of on-prem. It's all subscription for them. The operating cash flow is up for some reason, but they are still losing money. So I think they are spending a lot in sales and marketing. That would be my guess. That's why they are losing money. And again, they are a very large global organization targeting Fortune 500, and that's where you require a lot more funding from the from the sales and marketing perspective. They have a lot of employees, 15,000. That's what we saw. I don't think there are any changes. The Windley acquisition, and I don't know if it is called Windley or VNDLY. I don't know how to pronounce that. But that is the acquisition that they had done, and now that is completed. And that was related to the unified workforce optimization solution for managing all type of workers, salaried, hourly, contingent, outsourced. And obviously now we are going to see far more trend of the varied workforce, and that's where these solutions are going to be super handy. Two industries that they have highlighted here are the financial services and retail. When we reviewed them, financial services and retail were there. For us, the shocking thing, if I remember correctly, was that they were doing good in a lot of different verticals, but there were some strange ones in that. And Phil or Dave, do you guys remember which of those verticals were? Okay, so I don't know if you guys have any comments. Okay, so here my expectation would be, when I look at the Workday solution, that the solution is really designed for those services industries, the professional services and the tech. Our expectation was that since this is more of the talent focused solution, so they are going to be
wasn't it for HCM mostly?
Yeah, it was HCM.
Yes, and when we look at the industry, right, they were doing really well in telecom, they were doing really well in media, and we sort of try to conclude that the reason why they will be doing well in those industries, because those are the ones that actually care for the talent most. Those are the companies that care for the employee experience most. I mean, manufacturing companies in general, they are paying $20 an hour for the large chunk of their employees. I don't know how much they care about employee experience. Obviously, that has to be with the companies that are going to be paying far higher, and that they are trying to attract the talent that is in high demand. So I think, so right now they have very well highlighted that they are doing really well in financial services and retail. And financial services is the industry that Salesforce does really, really well. Okay, they don't do as well. I don't know if they do as well in retail. Salesforce has the Salesforce Commerce, so obviously because of that, they are going to do well in the retail space as well. But for the most part, financial services is really the industry for Salesforce as well. There's a lot of overlap overall in terms of where Salesforce likes to go and Workday likes to go. So here they are saying more than 70% of the financial services companies in the Fortune 500 have selected Workday. Over 50% of the 2021 NRF top 100 retailers. And they are being very, very, very specific. They are targeting a trade show that is the largest retail show, and they have 50% of that. And they go really, really hard on those guys. That's pretty much it for this one. I don't see anything else here. The operating loss is the one that we had identified last time as well. Operating loss was, $101 million and negative 7.3% of revenue compared to operating loss of $73.3 million, negative of 6.5% of revenue in the period last year. So obviously their losses are increasing, right, Phil? They are increasing significantly overall.
Yep. So I think we hit that the last time. Sorry, I missed your question. We're getting a lot of chat content right now, but yeah, they're investing. I think your assessment is very good. They see something on the other side, and they're spending money to get there.
Yep, I agree. Okay, any other comments, guys? Otherwise, I'm actually going to move to the next one. So here, this is from our friends at Apptine. We did their review last time, and we found a lot of different insights that we just didn't know. So right now, what Apptine has done, they have announced a partner program. And this is a very interesting program, okay? So this is aligned to Microsoft for some reason. So I could never sort of figure out, okay, where is Apptine overall in their journey? And what is their relationship with Microsoft? So here, it seems as if the Apptine, some of the Apptine products, not sure which products are we talking about here. They are talking about food and beverage. They have just food ERP for the food and beverage. So just food ERP, if I don't know if I recall correctly, that might be built on top of Business Central. Okay, there is a possibility. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on this one. I don't know if you guys remember, Andy or Dave. but they have some sort of relationship in the with Microsoft, and I don't know if it is with Business Central or if they are simply using Microsoft Azure, but we have never seen the similar announcement with any other vendors in the market. So here they are saying they have the Microsoft certified gold partner announced the expansion of its North America Alliance Partner Program. This initiative builds upon Apptine's existing partner network to offer outstanding growth opportunities to system integrators, finance and business advisory firms, and technology consulting providers who serve the food and beverage industry within the Microsoft ecosystem. Okay, so they are targeting. So obviously, Microsoft is sort of promoting Apptine guys because they cannot win without them. They need the food add-on if they are trying to win as Business Central. That could be the reason why they are letting them do this. Now, the other headline here you have to understand. So here they are saying this promising partnership with Apptine allows us to meet our food and beverage clients' specific needs. Said some guy from Dynamics 365 Business Central practice lead. Okay, at Azure Group. I don't know whether that is a bar, but seems like they have some sort of relationship with Business Central community. So Azure Group is looking forward to helping our clients benefit from Apptine's world-class solution designed for the specific need or food and beverage industry, as well as collaborating with Apptine to grow our practice in these markets.
So it seems like that this product, whichever product this is from Apptine, is more or less an ISV overlaying Business Central. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a very interesting combination. This is where sometimes this could get very confusing when you are carrying 200 different products. Okay, what is your relationship in the market? Are you a true ERP provider, or are you just an ESV trying to sell an add-on on somebody else's ERP? So there is some relationship here. This is for the food and beverage, and again, they have a lot of different solutions that they serve for the process industry. But I don't know for which product this is announced. But they are definitely going hard on this market. Okay. If you guys don't have any other comments, I have one more story, I guess. I don't think I have another one after this. So this is coming from Zendesk. And guys, as we all know, the CRM companies are grabbing a lot of dollars. Okay, ERP companies are starving. From the solution complexity perspective, if you look at the product, obviously ERP products are going to have far more complexity. These CRM companies, the customer experience companies, they simply take a slice and they are trying to innovate there, but they charge a lot of money. Okay, if you go to Zendesk, you go to HubSpot, you go to Salesforce, you are going to be paying a lot of money. Just because it is customer facing, it is driven by sales and marketing. They are able to charge that much money as compared to the ERP system. So here they are saying Zendesk, they actually turned down an acquisition offer for $17 billion, guys. Billion with a B. Can you believe this? Okay. And they are saying it is so partially on the basis that the proposed transaction undervalued the company. Can you believe this, guys? Okay. They are at roughly 4.13 billion with a B, and they wanted more than 17. But after investors rejected that deal on Friday, it left open question about how the company proceeds from here. Okay, what is going to be their strategy? These all companies are trying to grab one of the other slices from the market. So we are going to see where Zendesk is going to move next. For them, the next logical extension is going to be the customer experience space, and the customer experience space is going to be the space dominated by SurveyMonkeys of the world, which we saw very, very strong exit. We saw MailChimp, that had very strong exit. Then we have Qualtrics. Qualtrics did a very strong exit to SAP. So here they are thinking that maybe Zendesk is actually going to do the same. So here Zendesk declined a major offer from a consortium of private equity firms, partially because it projected that it would have $5 billion in revenue by 2025. Okay, so the company now anticipates 3.4 billion worth of revenue in the same year, significant $1.6 billion difference. Zendesk was ready to pay its plunge into the customer experience market, and the fact that it would have led the acquirer away from its core customer service orientation and that's why they didn't want to move from the customer service because it would be confusing for the investor what they were trying to do as a company, and that probably could be the reason why they didn't move in that. So here they are saying, but you could argue that customer experience is still a logical area for Zendesk to move into, which is right as well. I would probably do the same. Let's say if I was leading this company, customer service to customer experience is probably going to be the next logical area that I would move to as well. That's pretty much it. And the customer experience play, the reason why it is so powerful is going to be because of that customer 360 play, because you can gather a lot of insights, tie that back to your customer, from different channels. Obviously, that is very hard to do. Salesforce is trying to do that. They are getting the largest dollars in the market from that. But we are going to see if Zendesk can pull off the same thing as well. That's pretty much it on this story. Do you guys have any comments?
Real quick, there's two moving parts here. If you read it, right, not only did they turn down an acquisition offer from the consortium, they also lost the SurveyMonkey deal at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's quite a week.
Yep. You are right. Any other comments, guys? Okay. So I'm actually going to move to the new, vendor that we have, that is going to be Nextworld. And if you guys don't have any other comments, I will brief you guys on what Nextworld is. So it's the brand new ERP system that we have in the market. We are in 2022, and we are still seeing a lot of new entrants in the ERP market. I don't know why they would come here. You can make far more money in the CRM market, to be honest. ERP market is already very crowded, and ERP companies are not making a lot of money. Okay, so Nextworld is trying to innovate ERP market. Now, their pitch overall, the market strategy, all of these companies are trying to move into the newer technology trend. And typically the newer technology trend, if you are going to read, let's say, Gartner's 10 predictions in 2022 or 2025, some of the core themes you are going to see is, hey, we are moving into citizen developers. We are moving into the trend of, cobots and robots and AI and machine learning and the low-code and no-code. These are going to be the trends of these analyst firms. Sure, I mean, that is great. If you are in the financial services space where you have to worry about the customer experience, great. If you are building a technical system, all of these technologies could be very handy. Now, in case of an ERP, it's slightly trickier because ERP is supposed to be your business system. It's supposed to be your financial system. Okay, it requires far deeper understanding of the business processes. It requires you to standardize your business processes, and that's where the core money is gone. Okay, most people don't really understand how to standardize their own businesses, and that's why they find an ERP which is already been tested by 5,000 companies, so they get actually the best practices of these companies as opposed to writing their own requirements. And if all of these businesses knew how to run their business, obviously they'll be in the Fortune 500 as of today. But most SMBs in general, they struggle with standardizing their processes. They just don't know how to do that. And that's why they hire an ERP vendor who can really teach them how to streamline, how to standardize, and do that. Now, when we look at all of these products that are going to be low code and no code, their pitch is going to be, hey, I am actually going to be providing you the platform, but you are going to be building the product itself. Now, from my personal experience, when I'm buying SAP, the only thing I need to do is I need to connect SAP to SuccessFactors or SAP to Workday. That itself is a very, 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 very heavy lift. Okay, even though a lot of people are going to claim, you know what, you have APIs, what is so difficult? Well, you have to understand the data elements, you have to map them out, and that itself takes long time. Here, we are talking about building the ERP functionality on top of a platform. So no code, low code pitch is great, but how much that is going to work in case of an ERP is going to be a question. So Nextworld, what they are trying to do, there are at least 2 or 3 ERP systems that I know personally. They are trying to actually ride the wave of low code, no code, where they are going to provide a platform which is going to allow the business users to be able to code. But the challenge that they typically have, in my personal experience, is going to be that it's not the coding piece, which is the most difficult. developers are really good at coding. It's always going to be defining that the state of the system, which is always the hardest part. And that's where you are going to have a lot of discussions, disagreement, and a lot of challenges, and the ERP implementations fail because, it's very, very, very hard to agree on a state and see or foresee a state how your business is going to look in next 5 years. That is always the challenge. But these low-code, no-code platforms, they just feel that, I'm actually going to ask my business developers to actually develop the actual code, and they have never coded in their life, and now they are actually going to code all of this ERP logic inside a platform. So Nextworld is targeting that. By the way, the team actually comes from JD Edwards, I believe. I think the team created JD Edwards. So obviously they have a lot of credibility in general behind them. The product is amazing. If you look at these screens, it looks really, really good, to be honest. Okay, from the UI perspective, it is going to be comparable to your Odoo. Odoo had really good UX. Acumatica, obviously, any of the cloud native systems that you are going to see, you are going to find all of that in Nextworld. I could not find any sort of demos on YouTube. They are brand new. I could not find any reviews whatsoever of this vendor so far. So I don't know how much it has been implemented. There are a bunch of customers and the case studies listed on the site, but there is just not any reviews publicly available to be able to find any information. There's zero demo, so we don't even know if the screens that they have are really Photoshop. That's a possibility. Or are those real screens? Okay, so unless I see some sort of demo on YouTube, it's very, very, very hard to assess, whether this is a real product and how developed the product is. I could not find any information where they are hosted and who they are aligned with overall from the infrastructure perspective either. Did we cover everything that we covered as part of the briefing? Did I miss anything, guys? Dave, Phil?
Nope, I think that covers it. As a new startup, their website does promote become a partner. So maybe there's a comment there of their intentions in order to try to set up an SA network for them.
Yeah, so I think they are going to be targeting a slightly more technical, companies. The way Odoo has penetrated their network, the companies that have capabilities to be able to develop thick functionality on top of their platform. So for some companies, that's a big money, so they are going to be attracted towards it. If you look at, a consulting shop, that's huge because now you are going to be developing for a very long time. But, if you look at this from the customer's perspective, why would you spend money in that development when you can buy something off the shelf that is already tested? So from the customer's perspective, I'm not too sure. Now, if you look at some of the industries where the core ERP is not going to work, okay, then it would make sense because this is going to be make far easier. For example, let's say if you look at patches such as your logistics, okay, 3PL, you cannot really find an SAP of 3PL. we tried to review that in Apptine, but Apptine literally did not have anything for 3PL, to be honest. So if I'm a trucking company, I don't have an ERP that I can find in the market right now. Okay, so I need to find 5 different systems. I need to integrate. I need to spend $2 million, and I have no idea whether that implementation is going to be successful or not. Now, the same thing could happen in case of your real estate as well. Real estate is, it has always had its challenges. If you want to find a very mainstream player, you are not going to find in those spaces. So some of those patches could be great, in oil and gas struggles as well, just because of the way their processes are. Typically, their processes are going to be very unique and different because of the joint venture billing. So those patches could be great. But if you talk about the mainstream manufacturing, distribution, retail, I just don't see a reason why any company would invest in thick development that is going to go for 2 years when you can buy something else.
Sam, maybe you can answer this. So, because I was confused on this. So they're saying low code, no code.
Yeah.
Which is implying that you don't need a developer in order to customize the software. And yet it's a platform that needs a lot of development time. So what am I missing on that?
So, yeah, I mean, low code, no code is very interesting. Some people feel that, just because you don't have to compile in the traditional sense, the way you used to compile the code, the only thing you are doing is you are simply creating the business logic. But creating that business logic, even if I'm actually simply utilizing an iPaaS, to be honest, in case of iPaaS, the only thing I really need to do is drag and drop. That's how simple iPaaS is. But to incorporate that into a business logic, it's a very hard lift. Business users are not designed to do that. Business users do not understand performance implications of whatever they are writing. So when you are pitching the no-code, low-code approach, and you are handing a nuclear weapon in the hands of your business developers who have never written anything, I don't know how that is going to go, to be honest. I mean, in my opinion, coding is not a problem. They are trying to simplify a problem related to coding. Coding is not a problem. The problem is going to be in defining that state of the system. So I don't know how much low code and no code, again, I don't get it, at least in the ERP market. Maybe somebody can help me understand if low code, no code is going to work. In case of ERP, it's very, very, very hard to believe if somebody is going to build the whole ERP, customized ERP. And by the way, if you are going to customize it for your own needs, it's not going to work. I can guarantee this. Okay, because again, it will require a lot more testing. These businesses don't really have as much software development background. They don't know how to test, how to write their test cases. So I don't know how they are going to do all of this. Okay, any other comments, guys? Or I'm actually going to move to the next slide. Here, okay, so the pitch, and again, this is a very development-centric pitch. I mean, developers typically feel that, this is going to work, they really believe in this, and they feel that they are really trying to change the industry. But industry has very different problems. Their problems are not really related to the code. Their problems are very different. Their problem is to map those business requirements and create that future state. That is where the challenges are. So a couple of themes that I found really exciting, to be honest, okay, on this product. I wish that other ERP companies inherit some of this. So there are some things and layers in this ERP that I personally like, okay, and that I personally have had a lot of problems with other cloud ERP, and I don't have all of my answers, even though I'm super pro cloud, super pro cloud native, but I have a struggle in relating with the cloud native market and the cloud market. So here, whatever they are doing, there is something to it that maybe other ERP companies can pick up, or maybe they are going to do really well just because of this factor. So here they are saying Nextworld was conceived and built as a 100% cloud software solution. Great. We offer both applications, as a service and a comprehensive platform as a service, so SaaS and PaaS, which is a great combination. Right now, if you want to combine your SaaS and PaaS, typically you need to go to something like Azure. Understanding the pricing model of Azure itself is a nightmare. So unless you are working with a Microsoft partner, it's going to be really, really hard to do the costing for your development effort on Azure. So here, they are saying it is part of the same platform. Their pricing most likely is going to be simplified. So I like the way they are trying to position, and the way they are trying to position this solution. They are saying architecture matters, and I could not agree more. Yes, architecture matters a lot. Okay, and architecture matters because right now the companies that are utilizing cloud, they have not ever run the enterprise workloads. They don't understand how many challenges you are going to get in running those enterprise workloads. Right now, you are completely locked and dependent upon with your cloud vendor, whoever is providing. They have locked down the database access because they don't want these developers to be touching, or especially the citizen developers to be touching the databases, because that could be a real problem, for the IT guys. So here they are saying architecture matters, and one of the things that they are trying to do, if you look at the on-prem architecture, the way we used to build the mission critical system, you are going to have your bunch of servers that are going to act as a backup. When you have to upgrade any sort of code, typically one server will go down. We are going to upgrade this one, and then we are going to bring this one. So there was the real life cycle of how IT systems were managed traditionally. Right now, if you want to do this, you don't have any choice. You have to call your ERP provider, and they are going to do it their way. Now, if you have multiple systems in the architecture, now creating that release process is extremely difficult. So far, nobody knows how they are going to do all of this when you are trying to do this mission critical upgrade and the release on these mission critical systems. So I like the way they are trying to position the architecture, the way they are trying to position the infrastructure. So they are trying to bring those on-prem element that we had in terms of the control on the infrastructure, as well as you have your cloud. So which is an ideal combination. So I like the pitch overall, the way they are positioned. They are saying when you move to the cloud, you don't have to give up your control to us. Nextworld Service Delivery guarantees ease of provisioning environments. One of the problems that you are going to get in cloud when you are going for any of the public cloud environment, you might get, let's say, one prod, one test, okay, 2 environments. Now, when you are doing your business requirements, traditionally in the on-prem world, we probably needed 10, okay? Because you might have a bunch of releases, multiple teams that might be working together on the requirements. They all needed their own separate areas. Right now, if you actually go to your public cloud vendor, you probably need to pay 20,000 per year, 30,000 per year just for one environment. That's how expensive it gets. Okay, and you don't have any control on those environments. They are going to be completely isolated, separate. Okay, in the traditional world, we could spin off these environments on our servers. We could do that ourselves. Okay, we don't have any of that control in case of cloud. So now they are providing that control. So they are bringing that IT, control that we had in the traditional sense in the on-prem world, but we don't have that in case of public cloud. Private cloud gets really expensive. I don't know how much control we have on the databases. Not every ERP provider is going to be providing that, but they are somehow claiming that they are able to provide. And if the platform is really built for that, that's a huge plus in my mind. Okay, now go stateless. Stateless, if you guys are not familiar with what stateless is, typically, if you look at any of the financial services, telecom, the heavy development shops, typically they are going to build their business model around the microservices architecture. And those microservices architecture are meant to be stateless, meaning they don't carry the client-centric information. It's almost like reusable building block that you can build on top of each other. So let's say one service is being hit hard, so you can simply scale that. You don't have to scale the whole gamut of ecosystem that you might have. So you had that flexibility. Now, if you are combining the channel specific information in those microservices, obviously it's not going to work. Your architecture is not going to be scalable. So they are trying to promote the concept of stateless. Now, if you ask your citizen developers, hey, tell me about how to do stateless, they are going to program the hell out of the system. And then obviously it's probably not going to be stateless, but maybe they have some control in place from the environment perspective. And that's how they are going to ensure that their architecture is going to be intact. But from my experience, if you lose too much control from the programming perspective to your citizen developers, you are never going to get the control that you really want from the infrastructure perspective. So what else do we have here? They are saying there is zero impact to customers in case of hardware issue, which is great. But right now, if you actually look at the cloud vendors, you probably don't experience that, so you don't care. But in the traditional sense, you would probably care for that. Now, they also have they are also trying to position similar to how, honestly speaking, ProShop and some of the other vendors had positioned the RDMS and the NoSQL capabilities. Here, they are slightly better. They are saying, I have the SQL database, but I am trying to convert that into JSON message, which is slightly more readable, friendly for the business users to understand. That could be the reason. But I don't know which database they are using underneath, if that is going to compromise any of the transactional integrity. But they are saying, JSON support features ensures full asset compliance. And asset compliance is the keyword. Okay, that's the keyword from the database perspective. In case of an ERP, you need complete asset compliance. Unless you are building some sort of analytical system, for that you don't need all of that. Okay, but for ERP, asset compliance is going to be super critical. You need to track every single dollar. If you are not able to track, you are probably going to be in trouble. So asset compliance is going to be, and that's what makes ERP systems really hard. I don't see anything else. Do you guys have any comments? I can take those or move to the next one.
I was reviewing their website earlier this morning, and it seems they're pretty tight with demand-driven technologies, the DDMRP people.
Do you want to expand a little bit more on that?
Well, are you familiar with DDMRP?
No, I'm not. Do you
Oh,
wanna-
okay.
Yeah,
It,
yeah.
it's the first woman president of Apex is a lady named Carol Patak. Years ago, like 10 years ago, she was the president. She has a company called Demand Driven Technologies, which is a new version. It's like a combination of lean and MRP, basically, but it's a brand new way for production planning, and it's beginning to get some traction. And it looks like these guys have built some integrations to some of their tools. So that's
Yeah, so
kind of current stuff, bleeding
yeah,
edge stuff.
so we are definitely going to review their screens a bit first. Okay, so obviously that stuff sounds fascinating. Okay, but let's look at the screen, and we don't even know if these screens are real. We are going to assume that probably they are real, because we don't have any sort of demo. The only thing that we have is really these screenshots on the website. So here, when you look at the website, now look at the structure. The data structure is what I like to pay attention to, because that's what dictates, what kind of business model can you support, whether you can support different requirements or not, how large businesses can you support. Now, if you actually look at the overall structure, here they are saying I have this is the global operating chart. This is the screenshot that they had on their site. And you have the assets, the current assets, the cash, and the banks. And the banks are from some foreign countries for some reason. This is the same entity. So my understanding of this is going to be that, this is my financial statement of an entity, and then I have a bunch of chart of accounts underneath that. Now, why do I have so many global chart of accounts? I am not too sure why they have that. Maybe this is a commerce kind of company that is trying to transact in many different countries. That could be a possibility. And I don't know whether they are trying to communicate more of the multi-entity architecture here. I am not seeing that so far. If they can really support based on their claims, they seem to be supporting. But overall, if you actually look at their screens, they are super lean, guys. Okay, it has only a few fields. So this is just the chart of accounts. Okay, this is the account information. You have a bunch of financial statement. They are saying intercompany. Now, I don't know how the intercompany transaction is going to work. You have a bunch of relationship. Now, if you compare this with the smallest of the smaller system, okay,
Right.
Let's compare this with Odoo, or for example, NetSuite or Acumatica. Okay, NetSuite and Acumatica are going to be far richer. Even if you look at their company screens, they are going to have 8 different tabs, because they all have some sort of relationship in the data hierarchy, the way the data is structured, and they are used in some sort of functionality, either reutilizing data or the way data is entered or managed inside the ERP system. So I'm not seeing all of that in their case. So obviously they don't have all of this. Okay, now let's compare this with Odoo, which in my opinion is the smallest ERP system. The way their data is structured, the way their screens are structured, the way their products is structured. Odoo was very lean when we reviewed last time. This has similar feel as Odoo. Obviously, it's very pretty. There's no question about that. Okay,
Do you
it's
have an
very,
idea of what size of companies they're targeting, Sam?
so from their perspective, they are going to say I can target anybody because they can develop. I can just sell you Microsoft Azure.
The fact
I
that
can
they're
just sell
relatively a startup probably goes hand in hand with the limited functionality, is what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think based on the way the data is structured, based on the way their screens are structured, my understanding is going to be their target market is going to be slightly smaller companies, to be honest. They are probably in that Odoo play. Okay, they are trying to target those companies, and they are trying to target them that you can develop whatever you want. So obviously their goal is going to be to build tech functionality on top of this platform so that companies stay on the platform, as opposed to buying something that is going to be slightly more sophisticated out of the box. So the way I'm perceiving the product, the way I have looked at the screen and the data, it seems like it's probably designed for slightly smaller companies. But we are going to review some more screens, and then you guys will realize what all they can do. So here again, it's slightly off from ERP. I'm not used to of seeing this hierarchy, to be honest. Okay, so they are slightly different. So here they are saying you have the NA holding company. So this is where they are saying you have the company structure. So you have the NA holding company, then you have the US office. US office has corporate, and then you have the sales and marketing, the cost centers. Then you have the division, the business unit. the balance sheet. So you have you have the EU holding. So obviously this is a multi-company structure if you think about it, right? But then when we look at the overall hierarchy of data on the right side, how rich the data is. So here they are saying you have the contract type, then you have the org unit type is the company, you have the tax ID, you have the org unit relationships, you have the financials, you have the contact information. By the way, there is only one contact, so you don't really have probably the second contact, which is what most companies do when they are trying to design the system. They are going to simply design from the perspective of a very small company, and then they are typically going to grow. But typically in a company, you are going to have probably multiple contacts. There is going to be a one-to-one relationship on that. So again, when I compare this with, let's say, Odoo screens, and we can do head-to-head comparison in one of these shows, and then we can point out the differences, but it looks very lean the way I am perceiving so far. I don't know what you guys are feeling.
Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead, David.
No, I was just going to say, I agree with you, Sam. And kind of back to your earlier comment, Andy, in terms of what they're trying to go after, it's not really clear when you review their website. But I do agree with where you were kind of going with that, Sam, in terms of, some of the smaller manufacturing companies that I've worked with, when it comes to that systems development side of things, they think from a process standpoint that they're doing things significantly different than maybe some other people that are in their space. And so it's attractive, I would say, to them to have this idea that they can develop a system that meets the needs of their processes, with the thought process of saying, well, what we're doing is different, right? And it gets back to the disadvantage, honestly, of not utilizing a maybe a larger ERP system that has the ability to go through the 1,000, 5,000 use cases, right? You're not
Exactly.
getting the best of the best when you're kind of siloed in thinking that well, what we're doing is different. I'd like to build a system around what we're doing, and then to your point, as that grows and your business changes, it can be a significant significant hurdle to growth.
Yeah, I completely agree. And here, guys, at the top, if you actually pay attention to the menu, the menu is very technical in nature. I don't know what that is doing here, to be honest. For a finance person who is actually looking at, if you look at the controller or the CFO, they'll get confused. What exactly is it doing? Typically, your expectation is going to be, when you look at these screens, you are going to be needing, okay, what is my branch? What is my entity? Where am I entering the data? I'm looking for some sort of date so that I can enter my data and I can close in the same financial period. Those are going to be, but typically developers think very differently. For them, everything is from their perspective. But ERP, the core user of the ERP is going to be that CFO. Okay, they don't care for which environment you are deploying this in. They don't care for the other technical details. For them, it's going to be that financial, the perspective that they really care for. Okay, if you guys have any comment, I can take those. Otherwise, I can move to the next one. Okay, so here's the manufacturing, guys. Now, when you look at the manufacturing screens, obviously, manufacturing screen is going to be slightly complex. The only system that I have seen so far, even systems like ProShop, they were far complex and busier. And they were too busy, I guess, because they could not really, organize their information on these screens. But here, if you actually look at the equipment, the only thing you have related to equipment is a description, an image, notes, and 5 fields. That's it. Now, if you are going to run that preventive maintenance workflow for such large equipment, if you are trying to target these large equipment, I mean, they are going to require a lot more data to be able to capture their scenarios, whatever they are trying to do with the equipment. So obviously, again, I don't think this is going to be enough for the, it's probably going to be enough for very small manufacturing companies, but I don't know how other companies are really going to use this. Andy, any comments there?
Well, yeah, interesting. They've got 4 testimonials of different customers on their website, and one of them is a reseller of their software. So that's kind of a biased opinion. Another one is a school, a to do with. So it's a small school, anyways, to do with theoretical concepts, and then the two they got one manufacturer, and it's actually a company that's about a 30-minute drive from where I live. So I'll investigate that and find out more about them, but it's interesting. They don't really show a lot of substance.
So honestly speaking, if you actually talk about the patches such as school, maybe this could be beneficial because they are going to have operational processes for which you don't have a real ERP. And that could be a great fit, to be honest. But when you are going for the core manufacturing, when I have 200 different ERP systems, I'm really not sure why I would buy this one, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I just had a look. The company one manufacturer, they have a testimonial. That manufacturer doesn't have a website, so they must be very small.
Another thing on this slide, guys, is it says equipment relationships, and those don't appear to be BOM structure. So it's almost like I don't believe they're doing manufacturing here. I think they're doing a relationship between maybe different components, the tank, the pump, that maybe allows some aftermarket functionality, I'm guessing, or some functionality as far as being able to move the product through. But it's not even close, Andy, to enough to be a BOM.
Just to be clear, Phil, I don't think this is the BOM functionality. This is not the item screen. This is going to be the equipment screen that you are probably going to find in your CMMS or the asset management software. That's where they'll have that hierarchy.
That's what I was thinking, that this is asset tracking.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah. That's what they are tracking. So I'm actually going to move to the next screen if you guys don't have any other comments. Again, when we look at, so this is the, the production operator screen. And if you look at the menu up top, there are hardly 4 menus. They have 4 fields at the dispatch list level. So I don't know which company this can use. Again, if you're a starter, company, you are utilizing QuickBooks at this point of time, this could be a great choice. There's no question about that. Okay, if you're comparing yourself with Odoo, this could be a great choice because you can do a lot of custom development. But let's say if you are comparing this with some of the more sophisticated manufacturing systems, even some of the ones that are going to have light manufacturing capabilities, even NetSuite or Acumatica as part of the core, this is going to be really, really, really lean. Okay.
Now, I just did a search, a further search. I track systems of various manufacturers, what they use now and what their opinions are of the different systems. And I just did a quick search, and that company I mentioned that's 30-minute drive from where I live is a cabinet manufacturer, and they have 28 employees. So yeah, I think it's probably targeted at very small companies.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. And those are the companies that could probably be the right fit for the product. Obviously, it's probably not for the larger company. It's going to be the smallest and the smallest of the segment. Let's say if you are on QuickBooks, I mean, this could be a great product because it can do a lot more than QuickBooks. But again, if you're moving to larger segment, this probably would require a lot of development effort to build on top of this. So here, this is the job relationship screen. And for some reason, they seem to be thinking everything from the relationship perspective, and they have simply utilized the same data model that they have for everything. Typically, in my experience, the data model for each of the business object is going to be slightly different. They all have different relationship. They all have their own life cycle, the way they move. So here they are saying you have the project. And by the way, this is the project, industry. And in this particular case, this is going to be the custom manufacturing play, Andy. Okay, so here they are going to have the project. They are going to have a bunch of jobs, and they have claimed on their website that they can do without part. So a lot of ERP systems, they always have that challenge that you have to have part if you want to create a job. A lot of custom shops, they don't really have that part, and they don't want to keep all of these millions of parts if they are not going to get job next time. So they want to have that flexibility. A lot of ERP systems cannot do that, including the major ones, such as your Acumatica NetSuite. They all struggle with that. Obviously, your core manufacturing systems, even in 4Cloud Suite, Industrial or Epicor, is probably going to have that limitation as well. But these guys are claiming that you can probably have that as part of the core, which is a great play, in my opinion, if they actually targeted the custom manufacturing shops, they could be a great play because they tend to be very unique overall from their operations perspective. Yeah. So here, if you look at the overall data structure for the job, you have the job name, you have the ID, you have the job, you have the legacy number, summarization level, which is this, and then information, dates, WBS copy option, relationship. Okay, if you were looking at a screen from NetSuite or Acumatica, obviously you are going to find probably 200, if not 1,000 options. If you are going to look at, N4 or Epicor, you are probably going to find 5,000 options just on this screen. Okay, but here obviously it's very lean right now. It's probably leaner than Odoo, the way I am perceiving this product.
I was wrong. It's not a company. Their customer is in Colorado, not close to where I live. I got it mistaken there.
Okay.
And but that company in Colorado, it says they have 40 employees, so it's again relatively small.
Yeah. So here they have highlighted some of the data points on the screen, and this is for the SaaS implementation. So obviously, as you can see, I mean, there is a little bit of disconnect overall in their screenshot. On one screenshot, they are targeting manufacturing. On the second one, they are targeting SaaS. So obviously, they are trying to do whatever they can in their power, to be able to win these deals, but they don't have a clear trend in terms of which is the industries that you are trying to go after. In my experience, if you really want to dominate and you want to win in the ERP category, you have to target very, very, very focused industry and go hard on them. Really build a business case from there and then expand to the other one. The way Plex operated, originally, they targeted just one. Okay, Toyota ecosystem, automotive, they didn't do anything else. They did that really, really well that even SAP actually struggled to compete with Plex, which was fascinating, to be honest. Okay, that's how new companies should be operating. But in their case, it's just all over the place in my mind right now.
Again, being a startup, they're probably still trying to figure out what targets they want to chase after,
I understand, but at least you can still chase. Let's say if you are going to position yourself as manufacturing, nobody stops you, to sell to distribution. I mean, most companies do that anyways. So at least from the positioning perspective, position yourself for a very niche, so that customers are not confused what your core product is. Okay. Any other comments, guys? But job budget revisions, again, I'm not really seeing a lot of data points. I can probably count on my fingers the way costing is done. It's very different. The way I am used to of seeing in the other ERP system. They have summed up a bunch of cost items, which is great. It's cleaner, but I'm not really getting the kind of analysis that an a finance person would require, or the CFO would require, or the cost accountant would require.
Targeted at smaller companies, Sam, probably. So those titles are probably not even in the companies.
That could be true. Okay. If you guys don't have any other comments, so here I have some more screens. If you look up top, now this is the real estate. So they have built something for real estate as well. They have built for everything, wherever they can sell. Something for everything. Okay, so they have buildings, they have floors, they have units, and then the building name, again, even for the real estate, if you are selling to very small companies, this could be a great fit. Again, in the real estate play, I think there is a real need of a custom ERP, to be honest, because they really struggle to implement. Even, if you go after Salesforce, I've seen Salesforce implementation failure in case of real estate because it doesn't work. The data model is very different from how real estate would like to see it. So in real estate, I think there is a real pain. None of the mainstream ERP systems really work. The market is very fragmented. So if these guys are trying for the real estate market, that could be a great play, to be honest. Okay. So if you don't have this now, this is, again, I was trying to find the product roadmap. I could not find anywhere. So the only place where I could find is they did a demo, just a webinar, not even a demo. I mean, I still could not see any product screens. The only thing I could see is the pitch deck. That's what I saw, on YouTube. So they were doing, I think they did this webinar with Verge and Nextworld. I think that is the European company. and they had this what they were planning for the key features. Now, overarching theme of the features, if you look at it, again, they are trying to build that basic functionality that a very basic ERP system is going to require. They have used some of the fancy terms here, but right now they don't have the bread and butter. That's how I am perceiving. So here, in 2022, they were building multi-currency. Obviously, if you look at any ERP system, even the smallest and the smallest, they are probably going to have multi-currency feature. They don't have that. They were trying to build in 2020. They have the CFO controller dashboard. For procurement, they were treating multi-currency differently. They were trying to build the sales tax. Again, why would you build the multi-entity functionality first before you have functionality for just one entity? Okay, give me do something for just one entity first before you went global with these massive companies. You don't have to go there when you don't have the basics down.
Throwing spaghetti against the wall is a marketing strategy.
Yeah, well, and it's also, we used to call it buying your way into a market, and that's going to be my ending comment in Q&A. But I think the answer to that is that they're out there trying to find work.
Yeah,
and if a customer is willing to buy and they need VAT tax functionality, they're saying, let's figure out how to give them VAT tax functionality and global banking functionality, which are two that picked out that are for this size of for this strong of a system are unusual, right?
Well, if you look at where it says manufacturing, well, projects underneath that, the bullets are 1 and 2. I don't know what the heck that means, but under manufacturing, they mention rework, inventory commitments, and work order scheduling. I'm going, rework and scheduling already, that's pretty advanced stuff, and they don't have anything else. In most
cases, 70% of the companies are going to be manual. Even the Fortune 500, they have the rework process as manual. Why would you build that right now when you don't have your bread and butter down? It doesn't make any sense.
Throw it against the wall, my friend. Some of it's going to stick.
Okay, if you guys have any other comments, but from my perspective, to be honest, when I looked at this, and again, I am looking at the journeys of the company that were really successful. To be honest, if you look at Acumatica is not a very old company as such. They have been in the market for, sure, you can say that they have been in the market from 2008. But if you actually look at the product play, 2015 is when they became really known, aggressive. They started competing with
years. They've done a ton.
But before that, honestly speaking, the way Acumatica was approaching the market, they were going after very small shop, and that's how ERP companies should build themselves. Okay, so they should be going after very small shop, try to be successful there. Go after really small retail distribution shop, try to be successful there. Build from there, and then build the global. And even today, Acumatica does not have that global functionality. Because, you only have so many hours in the day and you have so many dollars in the bank. You can only do so much. So kudos to Acumatica that they have done a marvelous job in last 6-7 years. But again, this is not how you build the company where you are claiming themselves as, hey, I'm going to compete with SAP and I'll let my customers figure out how to code because they are really smart. Any other comments, guys?
Well, I think we were very honest with these guys, but we were pretty tough. And they're a brand new startup company. They've got a couple pretty cool ideas, in their structure and the thought process of saying it's a developer product. But when you look at the actual functionality of the company, they're obviously years away. I think there was a comment on the chat, that they're probably not ready for prime time right now. But that doesn't mean they aren't onto something because of the platform as a SaaS idea and some of the other ideas they have structurally, Sam.
Yeah, there's a target market out there for companies that want to do their own development, and this seems to be more like a development platform that is a base, and you do your own thing from there than it is an ERP.
In my opinion, I think that is miseducating the customers because we have seen tremendous failures overall because of the overdevelopment of the ERP system. That's where the pain point is. If you want to solve a problem in the ERP industry, solve a problem that exists. Right now, this is making it worse. you are not solving it. You are really making it worse, to be honest. The coding is not going to solve the problem. We have other problems that in the industry that we are trying to find answers. We have to save these implementations, and day in, day out, we are seeing the implementation failure. And typically that is going to be because of the education is not there in terms of how to structure the process, how to define the state of the system, so that the people who really know how to code, they can develop.
Hard to argue with that logic, Sam. Hard to argue with that logic, but you also got to root for a startup. So call me sentimental today.
Hey, here's
Okay.
your roadmap, Sam.
Okay. All right. So here's the roadmap. Okay. So roadmap is awesome, right? So Phil is going to be investing a lot of money in this company. We'll take Phil's personal money.
Let's not get hysterical, Sam. Let's not get hysterical here.
If I am the customer, I need to think about my customer. Okay. It is their hard-earned dollars. And we need to make sure that they are investing it right. I feel for the startup, they need to start somewhere, but they need to have slightly more streamlined approach. The way they should be approaching the market as opposed to taking this approach. This is not good for the customers, the way they are approaching the market right now. Okay. So 2021 roadmap, obviously they are doing multiple chart of accounts, real-time consolidation, enhanced international company setup, enhanced project services billing, job cost inquiry enhancements, improved time accounting, supplier portal. Guys, supplier portal. Why do you need to do that right now? Come on. Way too much. Even mainstream ERP players don't have that. SAP does not have that. They might use a vendor for that. Okay. Now I cannot even read this. What is this? Andy, help me, or whoever has a little deeper procurement.
Demand-driven MRP, you mean?
Encumbrance manager and tracking.
Oh, encumbrance.
What is that?
Phil, do you have a definition for? I mean, isn't encumbrance
something that's in the way? Yeah, it should be. I believe the definition of encumbrance is there's something in the way. There's something preventing me from, there's something that got in the way of a process moving forward. It's been encumbered, but I've never seen that applied to an ERP.
Exactly. I've not seen that in case of SAP. So why exactly are you developing that? Because you want to compete with SAP because of this feature? Come on, guys. Okay. Evaluated receipt settlement. Now, what is that? Can somebody explain that to me? I have not seen that anywhere in any ERP. Please help me with this.
The evaluated receipt settlement?
Okay, so a lot of bells and whistles. I mean, a lot of non-traditional ERP requirements that they are trying to develop when they don't have their basics down. That's my problem.
Yeah. They're going in a lot of directions.
I mean, maybe that's like a three-way match. Maybe that's their way of saying three-way match, but I don't know.
Why would you not call that three-way match?
It's marketing, I guess. I'm not sure.
There you go.
Because nobody likes three-way match.
I just checked what the definition of encumbrance is, and Phil was correct, but there's also a legal term regarding a mortgage or other charge on property or assets.
There's no way that's what they're doing, is it?
I don't know. I'm giving them.
Do you guys want me to bring the screens back? I can bring that. I was thinking. I mean, we are
now Andy's being a pushover here.
You guys are having way too much fun.
I'm always a pushover, Phil.
Well, and Tune 6 is right with you, Sam, on the chat. Yeah. He thinks I'm crazy. He thinks these guys are going to go broke if they don't focus.
Exactly. So we are actually going to cover the comments right now. If you guys don't have any other comments, but feel free to make comments. Okay, I'll simply go over the comments. So
yeah, there's quite a bit out there.
Yeah. So Thomas is saying, can you share the document you are basing this on? It's a bit quick. I thought this was Nextworld vendor review. Your presentation is very interesting, but difficult for me to follow. Your documents would be great. So obviously we need to do a better job, overall from the presentation perspective. But
he was talking about the opening. David actually clarified that for him, that's the news. He was expecting to jump us right into vendor review.
Yeah, I think he missed your opening segment there about sharing news first and then getting into it. So we clarified that though for him.
Interesting. Yeah, that could be confusing for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then we have Dave's comment, and then we have Thomas' comment again that, okay, LinkedIn user Nextworld makes loud claims about their no-code technology. I don't know which user this is. Are you guys able to see?
Yes.
I think that was Thomas again, Sam, if I'm not mistaken.
It just says LinkedIn user on mine.
Let me see here. Let me scroll back up in the comments. No, I take that back. I'm sorry. That was Anders Green. Nextworld makes loud claims about their no-code technology. It would be super if they explained what they actually mean there. Clearly, they're writing a lot of traditional code as seen in their videos. So perhaps they have some tech that is process flow configuration.
To be honest, I mean, I'm going to have to agree with this guy. I mean, Anders is sort of right. I mean, no code is all over the place. It's very subjective, to be honest. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. Everything could be no code. Even the coding platform these days are going to be super no code because they don't want you to focus on boilerplate. So I don't know what no code means. Okay.
But then again, from a marketing perspective, when you say no code or low code, you know how, especially the naive purchasers are going to perceive that.
Because Gartner is trying to sell that. Everybody's buying Gartner. Gartner is trying to sell that.
Yeah, anyone.
Low code is cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have some more comments here. We use Sage and other minor best of breed for nuclear isotopes that can have minimum shelf lives, but we still call it inventory. I don't know what that comment means. I don't know if I follow that.
I think that's a clarification of what we were saying as far as inventory management early.
Okay.
He's basically saying something where the shelf life can still be inventory.
Okay.
Sure.
Then the next comment we have is the Nextworld is excited about their use of a stateless. I agree. Non-relational, NoSQL, JSON storing database backend, which is similar tech to what a lot. So again, guys, I mean, we have seen this in case of ProShop. We have seen this in case of a lot of systems from 1970s because they were running on the desktop system. They cannot afford a SQL server. That's why they wanted to go for NoSQL, but they wanted to sell NoSQL. I get it. But that's probably not going to build your enterprise system. But I do like the technology approach, the way Nextworld is taking. So I'm definitely gonna, call that out, that their approach of technology, the way they are thinking of architecture in cloud is definitely different. And I would agree with that.
But that user also asks a really good question. He says, to what level do clients voice preferences, implementation details that are that far down the tech stack? In this size of company, how about never? So you get to the larger companies and the IT group's going to want to talk about that.
Yeah. Any other comments that we missed here? Do you guys see anything else?
I don't have to tell that many jokes about this one. Everybody's already laughing.
Hey, Sam, I want to get your takeaway on something. Throughout these reviews, we've been seeing some of the larger players that are obviously making the push to the cloud. And we know that because some of that has not been developed natively for the cloud and they're taking legacy products and upgrading. What's your takeaway on kind of the differences of where a company like these guys are going from a development standpoint to be able to kind of ultimately compete in that space? Is it faster to develop from scratch than to take existing functionality and recreate it for the cloud? I'm curious to get your take on that.
So what you are asking is a $1 trillion question. If anybody had answer for that, they probably would have figured out the ERP game right now. Everybody's taking different approach. They are sort of, in the mid somewhere. Nobody really knows what is a better approach, to be honest. Otherwise, if you think about companies like Epicor and Infor, the reason why they are investing in their product, I mean, they could have acquired Acumatica or NetSuite, long back if they didn't believe in upgrading their own product. But they are taking that approach because obviously they are winning in the market. And it's not that Acumatica and NetSuite wins every deal. They are still not winning. So we are, from the industry perspective, we are everywhere. I don't think there is a, very clear approach in terms of, what is better versus not. I don't think anybody has answer for that.
Hey, you know what? I don't know what the future lies with this company, but I'll tell you one landing page, which I think is very, very nice.
And he's still researching.
What's that?
Andy is
Yes,
still
yes,
researching.
yes.
We are at 7 o'clock right now, Andy.
I know. Okay, but they have a landing page of the companies that they have
Partnered with.
not partnered, given charities money.
Oh,
27 different charities. That's pretty nice.
All right, guys. So
Maybe
if you
it's
have any
actually
other
a not-for-profit, Andy.
okay, guys, if you have any short comments, we can take those. Otherwise, we need to wrap. It's our time.
Okay, thank you, Sam.
Okay.
All right.
Have
All
a
right,
good one.
guys.
There's a lot of good comments out there on the chat for those that are listening. Run down and read those. There's some really great stuff.
yeah.
Okay, quick closing comments, Dave.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to stay tuned to see how this develops. It's too early to tell.
Andy, any closing comments? 5 words.
No, I've said enough. Thank you.
Okay, amazing. From my perspective, obviously they have really good, UI and UX. If you are a small company, this could be a great solution because they are starting. But again, don't try to over-engineer or build SAP on top of Nextworld. You will hurt yourself. On that note, that's a wrap. If you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We pick one vendor or the solution and we review that independently. And we always cover a bunch of stories from the ERP and digital transformation industry. So make sure you guys are not going to miss next week's show. We are going to be here. On that note, thank you so much, everybody, for your time and insights.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks.